He has never had a losing season in Philadelphia. He has a win percentage approaching 70% across 5 years. He led the team to 2 conference championships and a Super Bowl title. And yet, one of the most influential publications in professional football just placed him on a list that no championship coach ever wants to see his own name on. The list of coaches who are playing everything on a single season. But what makes this story even more explosive is not the analyst who built the ranking. It is what ESPN revealed about what is happening inside the Eagles' locker room with the most important quarterback in franchise history. And that information, my friend, changes everything. I am going to break down why a Super Bowl champion head coach is being put on notice before the season even begins, what 2 specific issues could determine his future in Philadelphia, and what ESPN's most connected reporters said about Jalen Hurts that nobody wants to say out loud. But first, if you are a true Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now, because this is exactly the kind of story that defines what happens inside a championship organization when the pressure starts to rise. Let's get into it. Analyst Moton of Bleacher Report published his list this week of NFL coaches facing decisive seasons in 2026, and when you look at the other names on the list, you immediately understand the weight of what it means to appear on it. These are coaches from teams that are not winning, from franchises in rebuilding mode, from organizations that have lost their direction. And in the middle of all of that, one name stands out in an absolutely unique way: Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl LIX champions. Moton placed Sirianni's hot seat meter at 7, on a scale of 1 to 10, 7. For a coach who has never had a losing season, who has won the NFC East in 3 of the last 4 seasons, who since 2022 has averaged 12.5 wins per regular season, who went to the Super Bowl and lifted the trophy, who is, by any objective metric, one of the most successful coaches in professional football over the last 5 years. How does a man like that end up at a 7 on that scale? The answer lies in 2 problems that Moton identified with surgical precision, and that every Eagles fan who is being honest with himself has already felt somewhere in the back of his mind. The first problem is the offensive coordinators. Sirianni was hired by the Eagles in 2021. In 5 seasons, he has already had 3 different offensive coordinators. Shane Steichen left after the 2022 season to become the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, which is considered a promotion, not a failure. But Brian Johnson lasted just 1 season and was fired. Kevin Patullo lasted just 1 season and was fired. And now Sean Mannion arrives as the 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. And it is also his first season in the role. Moton was direct. Sirianni has promoted 2 offensive coordinators who each lasted only 1 season. If Mannion becomes the 3rd consecutive name on that list, the Eagles are going to start asking whether the problem lies with the coordinators, or with the head coach who chooses them and works alongside them. It is a question that Philadelphia's fan base is already asking quietly, and that the national media is starting to ask out loud. But the second problem is where the story gets truly heavy. And this is where ESPN reporters Tim McManus and Jeremy Fowler enter with a report published on April 1st that shook Philadelphia in a way the market has not yet fully processed. According to McManus and Fowler, there is friction inside the Eagles' locker room, and the center of that friction is Jalen Hurts. What the reporters documented, speaking with multiple internal sources who requested anonymity, is a series of behaviors from the quarterback that are limiting what the Eagles' offense can do on the field. Hurts has pushed back on changes that would diversify the offensive scheme, including playing more snaps under center, which opens a much larger menu of plays for an offensive coordinator. He has shown reluctance to pull the trigger at certain moments, particularly against zone coverage. He deviates from the game plan and changes play calls to a degree that some sources describe as excessive. And the quarterback's strong preferences, combined with the coaching staff's tendency to play to his strengths, have created an offense that became too predictable, an offense that opposing defenses can read in advance. Those are heavy words, and when they come from ESPN, sourced from multiple internal voices, they are not words that can be easily dismissed. And here is the thing. This friction did not stay invisible. It played out on national television, in one of the most watched games of the season, right in front of 70,000 fans at Lincoln Financial Field. During the wild card round, lost to the San Francisco 49ers, cameras caught a heated sideline confrontation between Sirianni and A.J. Brown right before halftime. Brown is the All-Pro. He is, or was, the most important offensive weapon on the roster. And the image of the head coach and his best receiver in a visible, emotional argument during a playoff game told the whole league something that no ESPN report needed to confirm. The tension inside this offense was real, and it had already found its way to the surface at the worst possible moment. Now, in fairness, it is important to give the complete picture. McManus and Fowler also said very positive things about Hurts in the same report. They described the quarterback's work ethic as world-class. They argued that Hurts' resolve was what allowed the Eagles to survive the constant turnover at offensive coordinator, which is a real argument, considering that 3 different coordinators in 5 years could have destroyed any system, and they acknowledged that part of the predictability of the offense is not Hurts' responsibility alone, but the result of a collaborative process that includes the coaching staff. That said, the pattern Moton identified is undeniable. In 2023, the Eagles started the season 10-1, one of the best starts in franchise history. They finished 11-6, and they were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. In 2025, the Eagles started 8-2. They finished 11-6, and they were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the San Francisco 49ers at Lincoln Financial Field in a game that exposed exactly the offensive limitations the ESPN insiders described. 2 years. The same pattern. A team that starts dominant and finishes stumbling. And in both years, the offensive coordinator situation was identified as the primary factor in that imbalance. Now, the question that everyone in Philadelphia is asking, what changes in 2026? Sean Mannion is the bet. But Mannion is a name that most Eagles fans had never heard before he was hired, because he has never been an offensive coordinator for an NFL team. His experiences as a backup quarterback and more recently as an offensive quality control assistant. It is a bet that Sirianni made based on his close working relationship with Mannion, but it is a bet that, if it does not pay off, is going to be very costly, not just for Mannion, for Sirianni himself. And that brings us back to the number 7. Moton is not saying Sirianni is going to be fired in 2026. He is saying that depending on how the season unfolds, especially on the offensive side of the ball, this could be the season that defines Sirianni's future in Philadelphia. If Mannion and Hurts cannot get on the same page, if the offense remains predictable, if the Eagles have another second half of season collapse, if the friction in the locker room spills out in ways that can no longer be contained. Jeff Lurie is an owner who has patience with winners, and Sirianni is a winner by any objective definition of that word. But Lurie is also an owner who makes difficult decisions when necessary. Doug Peterson's exit after the 2017 Super Bowl proved that. And if 2026 follows the same pattern as 2023 and 2025, the conversation about Sirianni's future is going to be much more serious than any Bleacher Report analyst can capture on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you think? Does Nick Sirianni deserve to be on a list of coaches whose jobs are at risk after everything he has built in Philadelphia? Or is Bleacher Report being unfair to a Super Bowl champion coach because of 2 difficult seasons? And does the ESPN report on Jalen Hurts change the way you see the problem on the Eagles' offense? Leave your take in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later with the latest Eagles news. Fly, Eagles, fly!